All right, more Fukushima stuff here. Get a load of this one, and I'm going to put this onto YouTube because I could go into profanities on this. It's out bloody rageous. I'm going to read you my email to Elizabeth May, the Greens of this great country of ours, the defenders of the environment, the people who are on our side. Elizabeth May, she is the only Green in Parliament right now. She was elected, the only seat that the Greens have. They'll never get any more seats. The only reason they'll get seats is because they're going to be just like the other pricks that are running our place right now. Listen to this. This was my message May the 8th. Now, it took them a month to reply to me, and my message to Elizabeth May was, my email: I'm distressed over the Greens' lack of action on the earth-changing catastrophe called Fukushima. The government has shut down the radiation monitoring stations. Why have you not spoken out and treated this issue with the urgency it deserves? As the party for the environment, why have you disappeared on this issue? We need global action to stop this disaster. Millions will die and suffer from the ongoing fallout. I don't understand your silence. Okay, now this was May the 8th, addressed to Elizabeth May, Member of Parliament, and here is her response. Elizabeth May, June the 7th. I gotta have a drink. Water. Oh, here goes the stomach. Thank you for writing to me about the risk of spent fuel rods in Fukushima. Did I say anything about spent fuel rods? I never even talked about that. Nuclear energy, she continues. Nuclear energy is dangerous, a poor economic choice and unsustainable. We are unable to safely dispose of nuclear waste. Long-term disposal requires isolation from the biosphere for 250,000 years. When the unexpected happens, we suffer the disasters exhibited in Chernobyl and Fukushima that threatens people across the planet. Cost overruns are the norm, and power plants become unreliable after their first dozen years. There are greener, safer, and more effective, cost-effective ways of combating climate change and securing our energy needs. I never addressed climate change. They like to come up with the climate change thing now. We're way beyond climate change at this point. Anyway, the first paragraph, some kind of tripe about the inherent problems with nuclear. Well, why haven't you been fighting for the last 60 years to get rid of these disgusting plants? Okay, next paragraph. Here we go. While there is much to be done to ensure that the Fukushima disaster never happens again, the claims of a looming catastrophe are at best strongly contested. Will Davis, a renowned nuclear expert and risk analyst, collaborated with 11 nuclear experts and members of the American Nuclear Society to analyze the disaster scenario claim by claim. They found that even in the event of an earthquake, the scenario in question is a statistical possibility. Now, she's referring to, I never addressed this, the idea of the fuel rods being damaged, falling in on themselves, collapsing, and going into meltdown, fission, whatever. Oh, statistically impossible. Interesting. Next paragraph. First, the assertion that the spent fuel pools at Reactor 4 are liable to collapse has been examined by the Brookhaven National Laboratory, see NUREG CR 4982. I'm going to attach this letter actually at the bottom of the YouTube, which found the risk to be statistically insignificant. The second assertion that the spent fuel at 1F-4 is in particular dire structural condition has been countered by a Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, the people we trust most, a report that found the spent fuel pool to be 20% safer than it was originally. Hey, it's even better than when they first built it, 20% safer. The third assertion that the spent fuel would ignite and cause a massive radiological release, by the way, it's already released. This is going to be catastrophic if this thing goes. Letter continues. radiological release is similarly disproven in Nuremberg. This must be their report CR-4982. Even if a quake damaged the installation, it already has, the spent fuel's strength decreases with time, and after 180 days outside the reactor, ignition of the clad is simply impossible. I invite you to examine Mr. Davis's analysis, included is the link, for yourself, as he proves many more details than I can in this message. Greens fully support a fast, effective restructuring and cleanup of Fukushima. However, we cannot justify action on a scenario that experts have ruled out. Nevertheless, the climate crisis is a clear and present danger. Don't worry about this. It's the climate crisis. Its impact could end life on Earth. So while we agree on key aspects of nuclear threat, climate crisis is really the most important thing. I'll attach this. You can read it yourself. Here is my response. This is the letter I will send back to her. Out bloody rageous. I'm almost speechless, in parentheses, depressed at the denial you have chosen in regard to this epic contamination of our planet by Fukushima. I am offended by your feeble presentation that is to assuage my concerns. I am informed. Your sophistry of pitting one expert against another is the dead-end argument we've had for the last 60 years on nuclear power. Plutonium, cesium, strontium, gamma, beta, alpha radiation is unacceptable in any dose. In this case, dilution is not the solution. What if you're underestimating the threat of this event? What if you're wrong? Every day of inaction compounds your problem exponentially. Why have you allowed the government to stop monitoring the levels of radiation from Fukushima on the BC coast, British Columbia coast, within weeks after the disaster? Recently, even mainstream media has started to report on the high levels of radiation in Pacific tuna. You're supposed to be the goddamn Greens. How could you possibly be in such denial around this immediate, life-threatening disaster? More than 1 million people have died from the radiation of Chernobyl over the last 26 years. The deformed children, animal and plant mutations are documented and irrefutable, not my exaggerations. Fukushima is already acknowledged to be 10 times worse, I'm being conservative here, and counting. Frankly, I am terrified, not only for what we're going to face from the continuous increase in the radiation, but also the willful, I would even say criminal negligence by you Greens, and your party, and our parliamentary representatives. Wow, gotta have a drink. This little thing she puts in there, oh, well, it should never happen again. We have to be concerned. Well, it should never happen again is totally missing the point. It needs to be fixed now before thinking about any future catastrophes. Yeah, don't worry about the fixing. We'll think about the future. Yeah. Why has this world not come to the aid of the Japanese? We need a mobilization of experts on a global scale because the Japanese have admitted they have no plan. In fact, they have appealed to the UN for help. Why isn't anybody helping? As this nightmare unfolds into the most significant event in the history of our existence, you, the Greens, will be held accountable for your inaction and be totally discredited as the party that fights for the environment. Or, this is my last little appeal. You could provide the leadership that no one has yet committed to. We're rapidly running out of time. I urge you to reconsider your passive stance. Is this bloody incredible? Is this absolutely bloody incredible? That's my letter. I'll attach the letter. You can read it for yourself. Any comments? I invite comments and replies. I'm going to wait with sending this letter back for about 4 or 5 days, my response. You can give me feedback if you want. I'm looking for feedback, what I should write back to these green deniers,